LoreWarrior Campaign, The Battle of Luthien. Introduction. Excerpt from The Killing Doves, Friends of the Dragon at War by Yoshinobu Setsuhara, Luthien Publishing in 3055. Of all the military operations of the Clan Wars, perhaps no single engagement, save for Tukid, was as significant as the Battle of Luthien. For the Draconis Combine Mustered Soldiery, the battle marked the end of Coordinator Takashi Kirita's refusal to deal with mercenaries. Indeed, two mercenary units, the Kellhounds and Wolf's Dragoons, provided vital support against the clan invasion force, acts that precipitated the end of a 20-year feud between Dragoons commander Jamie Wolf and the Coordinator. More important, the battle united two of the Inner Sphere's most bitter enemies, the Draconis Combine and Hansa Davian's Federated Commonwealth, to face a common enemy. Even though the hard-fought battle lasted only a few hours, its repercussions will be felt for years to come. The Battle of Luthien produced a victory not only for the Draconis Combine, but for all of the peoples of the Inner Sphere by providing a brief glimmer of the unity that once graced the Inner Sphere under the Star League, and taking us one step closer to regaining that harmony. History. On October 2nd, 3050, Kanrei Theodore Kirita of the Draconis Combine dealt Clan Smoke Jaguar a humiliating defeat on Walcott. That defeat fostered an obsessive hatred for the Combine among the invaders, a hatred that would spawn the epic Battle of Luthien 2 years later. As the Smoke Jaguar's Star-Lord class jumpship Firecrest slid into orbit around Walcott, Hohiro Kirita had sent a wide-beam message to the clan invaders, initiating the Clan Bachal procedure. Acting on intelligence provided by Hohiro and the Yakuza-turned-warrior Shin Yodama, the Kanrei directed his son to announce himself as the leader of a recently assembled ad hoc unit, the Yutsu, or Blue Devils. Caught off guard by an Inner Sphere barbarian using the sacred clan ritual, Galaxy Commander Dieter Ossis became incensed when Hohiro implied his Yutsu could defeat the invaders at less than their full strength. As a result, Ossis committed a force from the 14th Jaguar Assault Galaxy only half the size of the Combine force. Still, Theodore Kirita wasn't satisfied and had Hohiro dig his spurs in even more deeply into the clan commander's flanks. "You attempt to conquer this world, a great prize should you win," Hohiro told the Jaguar leader. "I, on the other hand, battle for no special prize." Ossis countered with a promise that he would make no further attempt to capture the planet if the defenders defeated the Jaguars. The Kanrei, knowing enough of clan custom to realise that this promise would only hold as long as Ossis remained in command, made an immediate counter-proposal. If the Smoke Jaguars were victorious in their invasion of Walcott, control of that world would pass to the clan with no further resistance. If, however, the Yutsu defeated the invading clans, the clansmen would provide the defenders with 4 frontline Omnimex and 24 suits of powered armour. Ossis initially refused the offer, but Hohiro pointed out that the Galaxy Commander himself had deemed the Combine forces incapable of successfully defending the planet. Hohiro further gouged the clan leader's pride by reminding Ossis that he had already escaped from a clan prison once on Turtle Bay, and would do it again should Walcott fall. Grudgingly, Ossis agreed to Hohiro's terms. 4 frontline mechs and 24 elemental suits wagered against an entire world. With the conditions set, the Battle of Walcott was on. For the battlefield, the Kiritans chose the Numachi no Tanima district, a region of thick, steaming mangrove swamps interlaced with small, muddy clearings. Strips of reflective metallic foil were hung from the trees in the inhospitable delta to cloud the clan mech's superior radar and magnetic anomaly detection equipment. The hot, fetid atmosphere of the swamp would likewise disrupt the Omnimex thermal sensors, forcing the mech warriors to rely solely on their own eyes and severely reducing the clan's technological advantage. When the Jaguar mechs and elementals grounded in a low-altitude drop and began their assault, the Combine defenders counterattacked with waves of hover tanks. As the ground effect vehicles withdrew, the Jaguars pressed forward, blundering into vibrobomb-fitted tiger pits. As the invaders struggled with these traps, the Yutsu mechs, actually the feared Genyosha, stepped from the cover of their mangroves and delivered a shattering volley of weapons fire. Before the confused Jaguars could respond, the defenders faded back into the trees. What followed was one of the most incredible events of the Clan War. Instead of regrouping for another attack, Galaxy Commander Ossis ordered his troops to withdraw. Ossis realized he had been beaten before his forces had landed. He had allowed Hohiro to trick him into fighting a superior force on ground of the enemy's own choosing, and had paid the price for it. The clan forces withdrew from Walcott, leaving behind the Omnimax and elemental suits that they'd promised. But the Smoke Jaguars carried away with them a grudging respect for the cleverness of the dragon, and a deep-seated hatred of House Kirita that would set the stage for their next battle. A battle the Jaguar and the dragon would fight until one lay dead. Know thine enemy. Following the victory on Walcott, Theodore, Hohiro, and Yodama withdrew to Luthien to review the battle ROMs of the lopsided engagement and plan for the Smoke Jaguars' next assault. Intelligence reports poured in from all along the Jaguar Novacat front, but the clans had apparently ceased their attacks against the Draconis Combine. Yodama suggested that the defeat on Walcott had led the invaders to halt their offensive, but the Kanrei discounted this possibility. If this were true, if the Jaguars had indeed extended Galaxy Commander Ossis' promise that Walcott would be safe from further attack to cover the entire Combine, the Novacats would not have halted their attacks at the same time, Theodore said. There is something else afoot here. Indeed, something else was afoot, but the Kanrei could never have imagined the cruel trick fate played on the clans on October 31st, 3050. On that day, a Shylone fighter rammed a clan jump ship during the fighting around Radstadt in the Free Ralzalhag Republic, killing Ilkhan Leo Showers. Shocked by the loss of their Ilkhan, the clans halted their invasion, leaving Innisphere military leaders mystified. Shortly afterward, the leaders of the great houses of the Innisphere received invitations to Outreach, home of Wolf's Dragoons. There they learned the reasons behind the lull in the invasion and the true nature of the clans. Theodore, his family, and Shin Yodama joined the leaders of the other successor states and representatives of select mercenary companies on Outreach, where a shocking surprise greeted them. Wolf's Dragoons had been sent to the Innisphere as spies, employed by the very invaders now attempting to take control of the Innisphere. Wolf's second revelation proved even more shocking than the first. The clans were the descendants of the Star League army, which had fled the Innisphere with Alexander Kerensky nearly 3 centuries prior. To combat the threat of the clans, Colonel Wolf proposed to train his guests in tactics and techniques that offered the best chance of defeating these invaders. In addition, he would provide access to the advanced technology that the Dragoons had brought with them to the Innisphere. Theodore accepted Wolf's offer immediately. Already the Smoke Jaguars and Novacats were devouring vast portions of his father's realm, and the Kanrei knew the clans would soon elect a new war leader and return with vengeance. A strange alliance. While on Outreach, Theodore joined perhaps the strangest alliance of the entire clan war when he entered into an informal non-aggression treaty with Prince Hansa Davian on February 5th, 3051. Both saw the folly of continuing their centuries-old struggle for the throne of the Star League, while the returning Star League army were gobbling up their realms. Months of training at the Dragoons' facilities cemented the alliance between Kirita and Davian, and fostered bonds between their heirs as well. As a matter of fact, the majority of the Great House representatives quickly learned to work together. Only the representatives of the Capellan Confederation resisted even the most temporary of alliances. Despite the difficulties inherent in training beside lifelong enemies, the program continued until September 3051. At that time, Colonel Wolf declared the program concluded, and announced that the Great Houses were as prepared to meet the clan threat as they would ever be. And so ends the introduction, and the Innisphere side of the background for the Battle of Luthien. Hello, it's me, Critical Rocket, and I'm going to do a post-LoreWarrior Campaign chat at the end of each part of these. So, Battle of Luthien is probably one of the more significant books of the entire release schedule of the invasion period where the clans have been introduced into Battletech in the 90s. And it's definitely one of the more interesting books. It's got some pretty good characters, and in this early section, obviously, we learn of the Battle of Walcott, and probably one of the most significant defeats that the clans ever suffered, despite the fact that they didn't really lose that much in the way of men or materiel. But it's crucial in a future setup, because this victory is essentially what began the ball rolling for the Curetans to start developing their own Omnitech, creating the first Innisphere Omnimex post-invasion, and then being able to start development of their own more advanced battle armor and the such. So it was quite a significant book at the time, although people wouldn't have known it until later on when those Omnimex were introduced. But the background there with Theodore and Hohiro Kurita on Walcott is basically the setup for that part of the story. So that's quite cool. I like that. You also have this idea that for a change, the clan leader in Ossus there isn't a complete moron who just decides to do what they ended up doing on Tukiet, which was just push forward under withering amounts of fire and just get themselves shot to shit. Instead, you have a situation where he very quickly realizes, I've made a mistake, and I am not going to lose more of my mechs and my men than I need to, so immediately withdraws, but holds a grudge, which is a great setup as well for the actual invasion of Luthien itself. You've given me a black eye, I'm going to take both your eyes out, is essentially the setup that we're going for here. The clan, especially the Smoke Jaguars, are not a particularly forgiving group of warriors, but it's also great, the setup for this one is great as well, because you have probably the most aggressive and sort of stoic and stalwart faction in the Innisphere, in House Kurita. They're a little bit, they're a little bit boneheaded. They'll fight until the bitter end. They have an extremely aggressive outlook on military operations. And then you have kind of the same with Smoke Jaguar. They're a clan that are just solely dedicated to being the best warriors amongst the clans. They're arrogant enough to believe that that's the case, and thus you have these two factions essentially just butting heads, and it's going to lead to a fight where neither side is really willing to back down on this one. They both essentially have something to prove to their relative enemies. The Curetans need to show to the Federated Commonwealth, despite the fact that they're working together, but they need to show to the Federated Commonwealth that they are not a faction that will be easily beaten down, and they're going to prove it by being able to defeat an entire clan, nay two, in a battle on their homeworld. And you've got the Smoke Jaguars, who are in bitter competition with the likes of Jade Falcon and with Clan Wolf, to show that they are the superior of the invading clans. It's weird because they don't seem to really care that much about Ghostbear, but it's definitely the insinuation is that throughout the history, Smoke Jaguar, Jade Falcon and Wolf have had a pretty tumultuous kind of three-way kind of dislike of each other, and that during this invasion this was their way of being able to one-up each other and show which of the three clans there were the best. And Ghostbear just kind of gets left out of the whole thing. As far as I know, Ghostbear doesn't really have a hell of a lot of interaction in terms of their competitiveness with any of the invading clans. They just get on with the thing, they take over Razelhagen. There's not really much after that. So yeah, there's a lot to prove on both sides, and it's a fantastic setup. Compared to the Galtor campaign book, I would say that the later campaign books unfortunately do suffer a little bit in that they don't go into anywhere near as much depth as that book did. I think Galtor was the best one that had ever been written, in the sense that it really did take everything seriously, and it felt like you were reading, if anyone's ever bought any kind of Osprey publishing military books, where you get a really in-depth background about the leaders, the order of battle, the full write-up of what the initial plans were, significant elements like that. That's what Galtor felt like. You got lots of little bits of flavour all the way through that book, and it was really, really good in setting up that conflict between the two factions. Later campaign books, they have a good history background write-up and stuff like that, and they do have the leaders and other sort of key characters, but it feels a little slim by comparison, so I don't think this one will be as long as a series compared, but unfortunately there's not much else I can do. Where I can, I will try to add a bit more as we go along, but I will cover the different characters, and you'll get some of the utterly fantastic artwork throughout some of this. book that goes through, and know that when I say fantastic, some of it is very horrifying. So some of the art of some of the people is somewhat scary. But there's some really great action shots of battle mechs in there, and you do get some of the older battles, just nowhere near as in depth as I said. But it's a good book though. I still really like. If you haven't picked up a copy of Battle of Luthien, grab it, either as a reprint, an original print if you can find one, or a digital copy from somewhere like Driver RPG or anywhere that kind of sells PDFs of these books, because they are really, really good reads. You get a lot of nice background stuff in there, and just some fun scenarios to play. And this book is absolutely stacked with them. We've also got some of the original write-ups for a few new mechs that get added as well. So I'll just sign off here. I think I've probably rambled longer than the actual intro at this point. So thank you, everybody, for watching, as always, as we get here into the end of 2023. And I don't know if this series will probably go into the early 24, but just thank you, as always, for taking your time to listen to these. And I hope that you enjoy it, and that you all have a good end of 2023, beginning of 2024. And I'll catch you in the next episodes going forward. So have a good one all. Thanks a lot, and goodbye.